And then they show the card and the card says G.I. Joe. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm surprised that that's the way y'all chose to go. What's good people? Welcome to HoViews. Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. My name is Corey, and today we're going to be talking spoilers for the new Transformers movie, Rise of the Beast. After watching the movie, I must say, and I said it in the original review, non-spoiler review, the human element is aggravating in this franchise. You think all the way back to Shia LaBeouf in the first run of Michael Bay's movies, and then when they moved away from Shia LaBeouf and brought in Mark Wahlberg, he was aggravating and he was different from how he normally is in most films. Man, there was a lot about it, those movies, I just didn't enjoy. And here, some of the same things happen. You know, in Bumblebee, I think it's Haley Steinfeld, she did really well. In this one, we follow the female lead is Dominique Fishback, and it's like, I love Dominique Fishback. Love her. Did not like her in this movie. It's like she didn't do it for me. Her normal stoic performance felt goofy. Like, it didn't feel right. And I think it's not because she's not a good actress or bad direction. I just think that's the issue with having humans in a Transformer-centric movie. I don't like the humans, really, ever. And it didn't get better here. I think our main guy, Noah Diaz, is played by Anthony Ramos, and I felt like he was a weird selection to be the lead, mainly because I feel like Dominique Fishback is a little bit more recognizable. She's been in bigger pictures. To see Anthony Ramos as like the person who gets the most screen time, I found that to be quite awkward. But we spend the most time with him, and I honestly did not care for much of what he had to do. And that's no offense to him. It's just, you're a human in the Transformers movies, and I want more Optimus Prime. I want more Bumblebee. Surprisingly, I wanted more of Pete Davidson's Mirage. Like, that was the biggest surprise of the movie. The fact that, one, you go into this thinking, based on the marketing, this is going to be heavy in Optimus Prime, Optimus Primal. Those two are going to get a lot of time, and it's going to be very focused on them. And actually, Bumblebee was a Bumblebee movie, and this movie is a Mirage movie. And they are transitioning, based on this film, they are transitioning Bumblebee out and moving in to the Pete Davidson's Mirage. Like, he's going to be probably the most likable character. Story time here. So me and my producer, we talk all the time about movies, TV shows, and he sent a promotional thing on Twitter with Pete Davidson, and they were using Pete Davidson to promote the movie. And I was like, why would they do that? Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Pete Davidson. Like, what does he bring that's worth talking about? And then actually watching the movie, I instantly recognized his voice, and I was like, oh, this is for him. This is his vehicle. This is surprising. But I'm presently surprised with Pete Davidson, happy that things went how they went with his performance. He was funny. He was very good with his timing. The 90s aesthetic of the movie came through for real. Like, they really hit the 90s quite well, and I was happy with it. The storyline is kind of generic, superhero, comic book, big blah action movie. They even went full Skybeam at the end, so I don't really put a whole bunch of weight on the plot and the story. Like, there's a device that people are going to be fighting over, and that's going to be the movie, fighting to get the device or keep the device from so-and-so. Like, that's a Transformers movie, and it's the same thing for almost all of them. It's like each movie, there's a new MacGuffin that we have to fight over or like play keep away with. So that's just the movies. And again, I go in and I turn my brain off, and I did, and I thought this was good enough. It's blaringly obvious to me, or at least in my opinion, that the human stuff is just throwaway stuff. Let's get into specifics about that. All the human stuff that I just didn't like. So Dominique Fishback is the scientist, the smart one of the film. She just, to me, seemed aloof for a lot of it. Just didn't seem like she was in the same scenarios as everybody else. Her shock face just didn't deliver the shock to me. The fact that she was so willing to go along with all of this. Again, Transformers movie, you gotta have a movie, so people have to be willing to do things that are irrational, but it just didn't seem right that she met a guy and then they were attacked and then they just stayed together, and she didn't take every opportunity she had to exit. That I found that to be quite weird, as well as just all her interactions. They felt kind of weird to me. It didn't seem like she hit it like she normally hits it. And I'm normally a big fan of hers. I like her and everything else, but didn't like her here. It just didn't deliver for me. The character Noah Diaz is portrayed or told to us to be a former military guy who had some mistakes in the military. He was distracted on duty and he was dishonorably discharged, and he doesn't have the medical benefits to help out his little brother. And he is portrayed as a screw up. But no point in the film did they portray him as like a military type. He didn't give military type to me. As I watched the movie, he just seemed like a regular screw up. Like, this is a regular dude. Nothing about this dude is special. Nothing about this dude says leadership. There's a moment specifically toward the end of the movie where Nate is talking to Optimus Prime and the crew have just suffered a defeat and the bad guys are setting up the Skybeam, and that's all that third act is about to roll out with all the action and stuff. And Nate Diaz turns around and goes to the group and like, everybody squad up and huddle on me. And it's like, dog, you have never been that person throughout this movie. Why are you doing this now? It feels cheap. It feels cheesy. It feels corny that you're that guy. Nate has this close relationship with his brother, and they are going back and forth over the walkie-talkies, and Mirage made a promise to the little brother, and the little brother's supposed to be tough. And toward the end of the film, it looks as though Mirage is dead, and he's trying to give like a little pep talk to Nate, like, Nate, you can do it, and show him who you are and you belong and all this other stuff. And it's like, Nate has never been portrayed as that dude. So why are we talking this way about Nate? Like, it don't feel right. It feels cheesy. It feels like generic things that characters are supposed to say to build them up to have this big moment. I rolled my eyes at the squad up line. I kind of rolled my eyes. I cringed a bit at the little brother trying to be encouraging toward the end. Not to say that the CGI was bad, but there was a scene in which, Mirage has suffered some damage and he transforms himself into a suit to protect Nate. And he's, Nate is in the suit now, and at the very end, they've won, but Optimus is about to sacrifice himself. And during the sacrifice, Nate goes back and grabs Optimus with some type of hook or something, and he's holding him, and it's like, Optimus is an 18-wheeler. He's the size of an 18-wheeler. Why? How are you able to do this? And again, I know it's a Transformers movie. I shouldn't be thinking this hard, but it just looked dumb. It's one of those moments where a human involvement here, for the sake of human involvement, feels off, and I feel like you shouldn't be doing it. But they did it, and it kind of just is what it is. It didn't hit right for me. I know as I watched it in the theater, I was like, come on, man. He's supposed to hold Optimus back from this black hole that's sucking him up. Pause. Like, what, are you serious? I didn't care for that moment. And again, cut the humans out and just give me Optimus and Optimal doing their thing. Because Optimus Prime and Optimal Prime, the Primal, the gorilla one, they had the emotional moments in the movie. First of all, let's talk about the gorilla. The gorilla has to watch his big homie die. And the very early portion of the film is like, okay, he's going to have to, work through some things. And he gets here, he lives among the humans, and then he coaches up Optimus Prime. And it's like, this is cool. And you get to see the conflict in Optimus Prime. He's still kind of young, different from in the Michael Bay movies. He's not trusting of humans, and he doesn't want to work with humans. And it's like, this is good stuff. Give me more of this. I don't care about Nate and the smart girl. Like, this is not as important. Talking about the gorilla guy still, Optimus Primal. You have conflict. I didn't even know that Michelle Yeoh played the Big Bird in the movie. I'm sorry, I don't remember all the names for all the characters, but the Big Bird, she got corrupted and she was fighting against her own people. And you have Optimus Primal. He has emotion on his face. I don't know who played that mocap, but he had emotion, and you could see the conflict in him when he had to take out his homegirl and he like squeezed her to death. And it's like, that was an emotional moment. The humans don't have that, and they try, but it don't hit. This hits. Give me more of this. And as I was talking with the homie about like, they could just cut the humans out. If you cut the humans out, then you have an animated movie, which a lot of people, we just talked about this with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. People don't go see the good animated movies at the theaters. Like, they think it's for kids if it's animated. This is basically the same thing. Like, you cut the humans out and you give me just Transformers for 90 minutes, 2 hours. I feel like it's a better movie. It's a movie that I'm more willing to go see, because I kind of went to see this begrudgingly. I wasn't really excited to go. I was, talking with my friends about, hey man, what y'all doing this weekend? Nobody really had plans. And I'm looking to myself like, I could go catch this. And then things happened and I had freedom, and I was like, well, might as well go watch this and talk about it for the weekend. But it didn't have that excitement for me, because I know the human element of the movie is going to be the human element. They're going to do what they always do. Overall, it was still big, loud, dumb fun. Like, the action scenes were very impressive. All the robot fights, they were not incoherent like some of Michael Bay's stuff. This was very clear action and it was well defined. They did something different with Bumblebee. I don't know if I said it in this review or the previous one, because I'm recording everything like back to back, chopping it up later. This movie was not for Bumblebee. This was for Mirage. Pete Davidson is gonna be the vehicle, I guess, carrying things forward, with Optimus leading the Transformers action on the back end. That's how they did all the Michael Bay ones. That's kind of how they did Bumblebee, and that's kind of how they did this one. You have Mirage and the humans dealing with the human element, mixing, commingling, and then you have Optimus and all his Transformer action stuff also in the background. And it's like, now they're going to transition away from Bumblebee and move into Mirage. And the way they did this transition is they basically sidelined Bumblebee for the entire movie. I thought that was cool. I thought they were going to actually leave him dead. I know they carried his body around to different places, and I thought like, it's just being sentimental. Probably end the movie with a burial scene for Bumblebee. But no, he came back. And then I thought Mirage would die, and I was like, okay, they're letting everybody die. But Bumblebee came back toward the end. Mirage found a way to move forward, and it's cool that he's going to be around. And again, based on audience reaction and people talking about the movie, I'm sure Pete Davidson will be contracted to do just a little bit more. So I think that stuff was good. I like the transition. Again, I think Pete Davidson did a great job, and it was smart to transition things away from Bumblebee. Bumblebee has been the central car Autobot featured all the way since the Michael Bay movies, and that stuff is a long time ago now. So now you're moving on with a different character. You don't have to have like the movie clips and all the stuff that Bumblebee uses to talk. He can show up, he can do his action scenes, and he can peace out. And I'm cool with that. The biggest thing about the movie, and I said that they don't really work hard to keep surprises in these Transformers movies. It's not about the shock value and like keeping this secret and big reveal at the end, but there is a big reveal in this. So you get to the very end of the movie and Nate Diaz is going to try to find a job, and he's going through this interview, and soon as he got into the room and you could see the character from behind, I thought that it would be one of the characters from the original Transformers movies, the Michael Bay movies. I thought it would be John Turturro, who was the original guy who was in like Sector 7, and that was in Transformers in the very, very first one. I thought that they would be doing this thing to where he's introducing Nate Diaz to Sector 7, and like they're coming full circle with all the different Transformers properties, right? Like the old Michael Bay stuff and this stuff. That's what I expected when he walked into that room. And then the conversation happened and you didn't get that. And I was just waiting for like some type of line to drop as to who somebody was. And then they show the card and the card says G.I. Joe. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm surprised that that's the way y'all chose to go. I did not expect that. It's the biggest surprise that I think I've probably ever seen in a Transformers film. The fact that we are connecting some franchises now. And to me, it makes sense, right? Because G.I. Joe is a franchise they tried to do on its own and it just didn't work. I only saw the first one and I remember those suits, and now the Nate Diaz suit that you see at the end of this Transformers movie kind of matches up to a certain extent with one of those suits that we saw in the early G.I. Joe movies. But that's neither here nor there. Let's just focus, right? So you have the G.I. Joe reference, and the G.I. Joe films were horrible. You had that very first one, I think, Channing Tatum and Marlon Wayans. And then the next one you have, I think, Bruce Willis and The Rock, I think. And then the next one was Snake Eyes, which I've heard was actually decent, but just badly timed and badly marketed and just didn't do enough to win people over. I never actually saw it because I was already out of the G.I. Joe franchise. Like, I think I saw that first one and I never went back. Saying all that to say, this is a great way to revive that franchise and connect it to what you choose to do moving forward. It makes good sense. People are very much into cinematic universes. People are very much into having properties connected in very slight ways. If you think back to the beginnings of the MCU, the Avengers Initiative was just one line at the end of the original Iron Man delivered by Sam Jackson, Nick Fury, and it was like 30 seconds. It's equivalent to what this is here, like just a very small moment where we say, hey, we have a G.I. Joe program at the government. We would like you to be a part of it. Very simple stuff. Now you go and you make a very good G.I. Joe movie. And even if it's not like Oscar worthy, because none of the Transformers stuff is really Oscar worthy outside of special effects and sound effects and stuff like that. You make a great G.I. Joe movie that people want to see connected to this. And now you can move forward with some connectivity and like officially roll out Transformers G.I. Joe, this Hasbro line of stuff. That would be cool. That would be dope. Will they do it successfully? I doubt it. I don't see it. I don't see how it'll work. But smarter people than me will put it together, and I'm ready to see it. I'm willing to give it a chance and go back to the G.I. Joe side of things and check out what they present us with. I think those are all the thoughts. I hope I hit it right. I hope I touched on everything that I really wanted to touch on. Again, I think the movie was a good, fun movie. Lots of popcorn action, good little thrill ride, simple enough story. It was fun. But to say like, oh, this is going to be top movies of the year. Like, no, it was never going to be that for me. And I don't know if it's going to be that for a lot of people, but if you want to go to the theaters and watch like a good, fun movie, this is a good, fun one to go watch. If you disagree, please let me know. Drop that in the comment section, or if you agree, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Come back, check out a lot more stuff that we do because it's all centered around movies. Sometimes we throw in a little Jesus stuff every now and then. Sometimes we do like long format podcast type videos. We'll do those. We do a lot of stuff. Subscribe, check it all out. And that's all we got for this one, y'all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.